At my baby's first birthday, my mother-in-law screamed in front of everyone, "I'm taking this child. SHE doesn't deserve to be a mother." She rushed the cake table until two deputies I had quietly hired stepped in, served her with custody violation papers, and escorted her screaming into a squad car. The video of her arrest, crying, screaming, calling me every name under the sun, went viral that same afternoon. By nightfall, she was being dragged in the comments as the psycho grandma who lost everything over her own ego. I still can't believe this happened. Even when I watch the videos people took, it feels like a bad dream I woke up from. I'm 27, my husband Jake is 29, and our daughter Hannah just turned 1 last month. We live in a small town outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, in a quiet neighborhood where everyone pretty much knows each other. I never thought my family drama would end up being talked about by total strangers online, but here we are. From the day I found out I was pregnant, Marcia, my husband's mother, made everything about herself. I told Jake I was pregnant, and the very next day she showed up at our door, not even knocking, just barging in. She had a bag full of baby clothes she picked out without asking us anything. It seemed sweet at first. But then she started talking about how this baby will need a real mother, staring dead at me while she said it. I laughed it off. Big mistake. From then on, it was like she thought Hannah was her second chance to raise a baby. She questioned everything I did. When I chose cloth diapers, she rolled her eyes. When I breastfed, she called it disgusting. If I gave Hannah a pacifier, "You're going to ruin her teeth." It never ended. Jake tried to step in a few times, but Marcia would just steamroll him too. She'd cry, guilt trip, tell him he was being taken away by me. And when that didn't work, she started playing dirty. When Hannah was 3 months old, Marcia started rumors around town that I was neglectful. She told people I was unstable, that I had postpartum depression so bad I couldn't care for my own baby. None of it was true. I was exhausted like any new mom, but I adored Hannah with everything I had. The final straw came when we found out Marcia tried to file for emergency custody of Hannah. We only found out because a lady Jake grew up with, who worked filing paperwork at the courthouse, called him up. She said, "Hey, not my business, but your mom just filed a bunch of papers trying to say you two are unfit parents. Thought you should know." We couldn't believe it. I cried for hours that night. I couldn't understand how a person could lie like that about their own family. We got a lawyer fast. We went to court. The judge took one look at her evidence, basically nothing but handwritten letters full of crazy rants, and threw it out immediately. That should have ended it. It didn't. Marcia went nuts after that. She started showing up at Hannah's daycare and pretending she was there to pick her up. She would stand on the sidewalk outside our house for hours. She left crazy voicemails. "I'm coming for my granddaughter. You can't stop me." I started having nightmares. I kept a bat next to the bed. We installed cameras all around the house. Jake and I filed for a restraining order. The judge approved it. Marcia wasn't allowed to come within 100 yards of us or Hannah. She didn't care. She ignored it like it was a joke. The first time she violated it, she showed up at our church during Sunday service. Just sat 3 rows behind us, staring. The second time, she sent a friend to try and get pictures of Hannah at the playground. After the second warning from the police, my lawyer sat me down and said, "We need a solid, undeniable incident. One we can prove. One that leaves no question she's a danger." I was so tired. So angry. But part of me knew Marcia wouldn't be able to help herself. I didn't tell anyone except Jake and my best friend Melanie. For Hannah's first birthday, we rented out the community center downtown. Simple. Balloons, cupcakes, a bounce house. Nothing fancy. Just love. But before the party, I quietly hired 2 off-duty deputies. One was a guy Jake went to high school with, now a sheriff's deputy. They wore plain clothes and just hung around like guests. I kept looking at the door all day. Part of me hoped she wouldn't come, but deep down I knew she would.
And boy, did she.
We were just about to light the candle on Hannah's cake when the doors slammed open so hard they bounced against the wall. Marcia stood there, wild-eyed, hair a mess, mascara running. The whole room went dead silent. She pointed right at me, her fingers shaking, and screamed, "I'm taking my granddaughter. You don't deserve to be a mother." Parents grabbed their kids. People backed up. My cousin tried to block her, but Marcia shoved past him. She was beelining for Hannah. Eyes locked. Hands out. I was frozen for a second, holding Hannah. Then the deputies moved. They got between us fast. One deputy held out his hand and said calmly, "Marcia, you are under arrest for violating a court order and attempted kidnapping." She screamed. "You traitor," she shrieked at Jake. "You bitch," she howled at me. "You'll rot in hell," she screamed at everyone. It was chaos. People pulled out their phones.
Kids started crying.
One of the deputies pulled out the paperwork, the violation notice and updated charges, and handed them to her. She tried to smack it out of his hand. Bad move. They cuffed her right there, face down on the floor. She kicked, she screamed, she sobbed so hard snot was pouring out of her nose. At one point she screamed, "I'm her real mother," at the top of her lungs. It took both deputies to haul her out to the squad car. She fought the whole way, twisting and kicking. I stood there holding Hannah tight, shaking. Jake just put his arm around me and whispered, "It's over." I wanted to believe him. I really did. The videos started hitting Facebook within an hour. Then Instagram. Then TikTok. Within 6 hours, Marcia was trending. They called her the psycho grandma. The kidnapper grandma. The Karen to end all Karens. People dragged her mercilessly. Someone found her Facebook and screenshots of all her insane posts about me raising Hannah wrong went viral too. By the next morning, Marcia's church announced they were cutting ties with her. Her bridge club kicked her out. Even her 2 sisters, who used to back her up no matter what, posted online that they were ashamed and distancing from her. Jake's phone blew up.
So did mine.
Some people were supportive. Some were just nosy. A few of Marcia's old friends sent nasty messages, blaming me for destroying a family. I didn't care. I had my baby in my arms. She was safe. And Marcia? Facing serious jail time. The charges weren't small anymore. Restraining order violation, attempted kidnapping, assault on a police officer, disturbing the peace, our lawyer said. She's looking at up to 18 months minimum. Right now, she's out on bond, but there's a no-contact order so strict she can't even send messages through other people. If she does, automatic jail. We're pushing to make the no-contact order permanent. I will never let that woman near my daughter again. I don't know how I feel.
Sad? No.
Angry? A little. Mostly I just feel like I can breathe again. This woman tried to ruin my life because she thought she owned my child. And when she realized she couldn't, she tried to steal her. But the best part? She destroyed herself. Nobody else did it. She dug her own grave. And she threw herself into it screaming. After Marcia's meltdown at Hannah's birthday and her arrest, I thought maybe, finally, we could move forward. For a few days, it felt like we were floating. We went on walks without checking over our shoulders. We slept through the night without jumping at every creek. I even started planning Hannah's daycare graduation for the summer. But crazy doesn't just disappear. 1 week after Marcia's arrest, Jake got a call from an unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. When we listened to it later, we both just stared at each other. It was Marcia.
Sobbing.
Begging. Threatening. All in one breath. "I'm sorry, Jake. She made you hate me. She stole you from me. You'll be sorry when I'm gone. You'll regret letting that bitch destroy our family." Jake immediately sent it to our lawyer. The no-contact order meant any message, even through voicemail, could land her back in jail. The lawyer told us to sit tight. Marcia would be getting a surprise soon enough. But then, 3 days later, something happened that made my blood run cold. I was coming home from picking up groceries with Hannah in the back seat when I noticed a car parked across the street from our house. It was a silver sedan, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. It didn't move. It didn't honk. It just sat there. I sat in my car for a minute, watching. No movement. No sign of life. I felt that old, awful fear creep back up. Was it Marcia? Was it someone she sent? I called Jake, told him to come outside. He came running with a baseball bat in hand. As soon as he stepped onto the porch, the car started up and sped off. Too fast for us to catch a plate. Jake called the deputy we hired for the birthday. They put a cruiser on patrol by our house for the next few days. But deep down, we knew Marcia wasn't done. Not even close. 2 nights later, someone tried to break into our backyard. The alarm went off around 2:15 a.m. Jake grabbed the bat. I grabbed my phone and locked myself and Hannah in the nursery. We heard running footsteps. By the time the police arrived, whoever it was, if it was her, was gone. But they left something behind. A single red rose. Laid right at our back door. The officer bagged it as evidence. They told us it could be a scare tactic. Or a warning. Jake wanted to move to a hotel for a while. I didn't want to run. I didn't want Marcia thinking she could scare me out of my home. We added more cameras. We upgraded the locks. We bought a second alarm system. We even got a German Shepherd puppy and started training him as a guard dog. Marcia's court hearing got scheduled. She was facing real charges now. Our lawyer said if she kept pushing, she could end up behind bars for years. But it didn't stop there. About a week before the hearing, we found out Marcia had been reaching out to Jake's cousin Tommy, trying to bribe him to testify that I was abusive toward Hannah. She offered him $5,000 and a new car if he lied in court. Thankfully, Tommy wasn't an idiot. He recorded her offer and sent it straight to our lawyer. Another charge: witness tampering. At this point, the DA started treating her like a real threat, not just some sad grandma who lost her mind. The court agreed to fast-track the case. The no-contact order became even stricter. Marcia's bail got revoked. She was hauled back to jail pending trial. When they came to arrest her again, according to the police report, she screamed so loud her neighbors thought someone was being murdered. Again. The videos went viral again. Someone captured her being shoved into a cruiser, shouting, "This isn't over," at the top of her lungs. People laughed online. But I wasn't laughing. Because deep down, I believed her. Marcia wasn't the kind of crazy that just gave up. She was the kind of crazy that only got worse when she had nothing left to lose. And sure enough, a few days after she was locked up again, something happened that shook me to my core. I got an anonymous letter in the mail. No return address.
No anduriting irrakugnisa.
Inside was a single sentence, printed in big black letters. "You will never keep her safe forever." I went ice cold. Jake called the police immediately. They took the letter as evidence. They started tracing where it came from. The fear came back tenfold. We started planning to move. Somewhere far, somewhere new, where Marcia couldn't find us even if she got out of jail someday. But there was still the trial to get through first. And a part of me knew the worst wasn't over yet. Marcia still had a few moves left. And I could feel it coming. The week before Marcia's trial was one of the longest weeks of my life. I barely slept. Jake barely ate. We kept the doors locked even during the day. We took turns watching Hannah like hawks, never letting her out of our sight, not even for a second. The anonymous letter had shattered any sense of safety we had left. Every time the wind rattled the windows, I jumped. Every time a car drove slow past our house, I stared, memorizing the plate. The police had no luck tracing the letter. They said it was mailed from a town an hour away, probably by someone Marcia paid off or threatened. The deputies did extra patrols around our street, but I could tell they thought we were just scared parents overreacting. They didn't know Marcia like we did. Then came the day before court. Jake had to go into work to handle some emergency. He didn't want to leave us alone, but I told him I'd be fine. I had the alarms on, the cameras,
The dog.
I settled Hannah in her high chair with some Cheerios and sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, trying to stay calm. That's when I heard the knock. Not at the front door. At the back. A sharp, angry knock.
Too loud, too fast.
The dog barked like crazy. Hannah started crying. I grabbed my phone and tiptoed to the back window, heart hammering. There was a man standing there. Late 30s.
Bite.
Big. wearing a cheap hoodie and jeans. I didn't recognize him. He pounded on the door again. And then, I swear to God, he tried the handle. Tried to open it. The door was locked, but he rattled it so hard I thought it would snap. I called 911 with shaking hands. As soon as I said, "Someone's trying to break into my house," they dispatched 2 cars. It felt like hours, but it was maybe 4 minutes before I heard the sirens. The man bolted the second he heard them, ran through the neighbor's yard, and disappeared into the woods behind our house. The police searched, but couldn't find him. They showed me mugshot books. I couldn't ID anyone. But I knew in my gut, this wasn't random. This was Marcia. Even from jail, she was trying to get to us. Jake wanted to pack up and leave that night.
But I said no.
No more running. No more hiding. I wanted to see her dragged into court and forced to face everything she had done. The morning of the trial, I barely ate breakfast. I dressed Hannah carefully. Even though she wasn't coming with us, she was staying with Melanie, our closest friend, someone we trusted completely. Still, part of me hated leaving her even for a few hours. The courtroom was packed. Small town. Everyone loves drama. Neighbors, old classmates, church members, even reporters from the local news showed up. Marcia shuffled in wearing an orange jumpsuit, wrists chained to her waist. She looked not like the woman who had screamed at me a year ago. Older. Broken. But her eyes, those wild, hateful eyes, they were the same. She glared at me like I was the one who destroyed her life. Like she still didn't get it. The prosecutor laid everything out. The harassment, the restraining order violations, the attempted kidnapping, the assault on the deputy, the bribery, the witness tampering, the break-in attempt. Even though they couldn't prove it yet, they read the letter aloud in court. They showed the viral videos. They even played the voicemails she left Jake. I watched Marcia's face while they played her own screaming, hateful words for everyone to hear. She flinched. But she never looked away. Her lawyer tried to argue she was mentally unwell, that she needed help, not punishment. He painted her as a grieving grandmother pushed to desperation. But the jury wasn't buying it. Nobody was. When Jake took the stand and told them about how she tried to steal Hannah from daycare, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. When I testified about the birthday party, about how she tried to rip my baby out of my arms in front of everyone, even the judge looked furious. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Talking about it.
Reliving it. Hearing the gasps from the crowd. Seeing Marcia's smirk when she thought nobody was looking. The trial stretched into the next day. The defense tried every trick in the book. Saying we alienated her. Saying she was just worried. Saying I was jealous of the bond between Jake and his mother. I wanted to scream, but I kept it together. For Hannah. When it finally went to the jury, I sat there gripping Jake's hand so tight it turned white. It didn't take long. Not even 2 hours. They filed back in. The foreman stood up. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty on all counts.
Guilty.
Every single one. I didn't cry.
Not then.
I felt empty, relieved,
Exhausted. Numb.
The judge revoked any chance of parole. He said Marcia was a danger to others and showed no remorse whatsoever. She was sentenced to 12 years behind bars. Jake exhaled like he hadn't breathed in a year. I just sat there staring at Marcia. She stared back. And for the first time ever, she didn't look angry. She looked scared. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It wasn't happiness. It was justice. But even as they led her away, kicking at the floor, screaming at me, at Jake, at the judge, even as they shoved her through the double doors and her voice finally faded down the hall, I knew it still wasn't really over. The damage she did would linger. In us, in Hannah's story, there were scars you couldn't see, scars I'd carry forever. And I hadn't even gotten to the biggest twist yet. Because a month after Marcia's conviction, Jake got a letter in the mail. From prison. Not from Marcia. From someone else. Someone we didn't even know existed.
And what that letter said.
It changed everything. The letter that showed up 1 month after Marcia was sentenced wasn't addressed to both of us. It was addressed only to Jake. In shaky handwriting. Jacob Miller. Urgent, please read. It had a prison return address, but not Marcia's. Someone else locked up at the same facility. Jake almost threw it away. He didn't want anything else to do with that part of our lives. But something told me, open it. So we did. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Written in blue ink, messy but readable. Jacob, you don't know me. I don't know you. But I know your mother. And I need to tell you something important. Marcia Miller is not just in here for what she did to you and your wife. She told me everything. She bragged about it. She said she already tried to hire someone to get rid of the problem, meaning your wife. She said it didn't work the first time, but she was working on getting another shot. She's not done. She still talks about it every day in here. She says she'll die before she lets that woman raise her baby. I'm writing this because I have a little girl too. I don't want to see yours grow up without a mother. Be careful. They didn't catch the first guy she hired. And she's smart. She knows people on the outside. There was no signature. Just a note at the bottom. Tell the warden. Tell the police. This isn't over. Jake went pale reading it. I thought I was going to throw up. We sent the letter to our lawyer immediately. He contacted the prison and the DA. They opened a full investigation. Turns out, it wasn't just a threat. Marcia had been corresponding with 3 different people from jail through third parties on the outside, sending coded messages through fake pen pal accounts, passing them letters during visitation days.
They were planning something.
The police called it a credible conspiracy to commit harm. Even from behind bars, Marcia was still trying to ruin us. The DA filed new charges against her. Conspiracy to commit murder. This wasn't just a custody battle gone crazy anymore. This was full-on criminal. This was evil. They pulled Marcia into a special security wing. No visitors. No phone calls. No letters. Isolated. But that didn't erase the fear. Jake couldn't sleep. I kept every light on in the house for weeks. I started carrying pepper spray everywhere, even just walking to the mailbox. Our families urged us to move, to change names, go to another state. Go somewhere Marcia's people could never find us. It broke my heart, but I knew they were right. Hannah deserved to grow up safe. Not with bars on her windows and cameras in every corner. We sold the house fast. Too fast, probably, for less than it was worth. Packed up what little we needed. Left the rest behind.
Jake quit his job.
I left everything I knew. We got new phones, new bank accounts. We even changed our last names. We disappeared. The last thing we did before we left Tennessee was drive past the prison where Marcia was locked away. We didn't stop. We didn't get out. We didn't say anything. We just looked at those cold, towering walls and knew she lost. But the scars she left behind would never really fade. Not for me. Not for Jake. Not for Hannah. This wasn't just a story about a crazy grandma. It was a story about survival. About knowing when to fight. And knowing when to walk away. Marcia's face still haunts my nightmares sometimes. But when I look at Hannah, laughing, safe, free, I know we made the right choice. We saved her.
We saved ourselves.
And no matter what ghosts follow us from the past, we are never, ever going back. We started over in a small town in northern Idaho, a place where nobody knew our names. Nobody knew our faces. Nobody asked questions. We rented a tiny house with a backyard where Hannah could run barefoot in the grass. Jake got a job working maintenance at a hospital. I stayed home with Hannah, doing freelance writing when I could. It wasn't a perfect life. We didn't have friends yet. We didn't have history here. We didn't even feel like real people some days, just shadows, hiding. But we were safe. For a while. The prison called 6 months after we moved. Marcia was dying. Cancer.
Fast.
Aggressive. The warden said she had weeks, maybe days. He said she requested a video call. One last time to see Jake. One last time to talk to her son. Jake stared at the phone for a long time.
Silent. Pale.
Then he shook his head. No, he said. No calls. No forgiveness. Not even on her deathbed. He blocked the prison's number. We never answered another call from them again. I don't know if it was the right thing. Maybe it was cruel. Maybe it was justice. Maybe both. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Not from the prison. From Marcia's old lawyer. Inside was a simple sheet of paper. Marcia's final will. And on it, in shaky, barely readable handwriting, one last message. To Jacob and his wife, you took everything from me. I wanted you to suffer. I wanted you to hurt like I hurt. But now I see. Hate eats you alive. It ate me.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't change anything. But I'm sorry. At the bottom, her signature. And a single line about leaving behind a tiny savings account, a few $1,000s, for Hannah's future. Jake ripped the letter in half and threw it in the fireplace without a word. We didn't want her money. We didn't want her pity. We just wanted peace. The lawyer called a few days later to confirm it. Marcia was dead. Buried in a prison cemetery. No service. No visitors. Just a number on a grave marker. When Jake told me, I thought I'd feel something. Relief.
Joy.
Closure. But all I felt was tired. Because the truth is, fighting someone like Marcia, loving someone she tried to destroy, it costs you pieces of yourself you don't always get back. I made mistakes too. I ignored the warning signs early on. I tried too long to be polite, to be the good wife, to keep the peace. I let her get too close for too long, thinking she would change. Thinking family could be fixed. It couldn't. Not every family is worth saving. Some people you have to cut out, root and stem, before they choke the life out of everything good. And I learned that lesson the hard way. Hannah turns 3 next month. She's smart, funny,
Kind.
She doesn't remember Marcia. She never will. And that's the greatest gift I could ever give her. The past is dead. We are alive. And no matter what dark memories linger, we are free.